Now, who here doesn't like a mass debate? Well, you're in luck, people, because I'm sure everyone has an opinion on this video where I look to provide you lovely folks with a top 10 list looking at the most important companies in video game history. Now, I'm judging these companies not just on games that they've released, but how they have moved the industry forward in ways that we could never have imagined. And yes, there is probably going to be a surprise for you all come the end, but we can discuss that later. So grab yourself some popcorn, enjoy reading the comments from the keyboard bloody warriors, and don't forget to place your own thoughts in here too. So let's get cracking. Number 10, Electronic Arts. Now, sometimes companies can make it into this list even if we don't necessarily agree with their scummy practices, and Electronic Arts exemplifies this more than anyone else on this list. EA Games has taken ownership of the sports marketplace, notably with the Madden and FIFA series, which the latter has been running since 1993. You can believe that. I suspect all of you watching have at least one memory playing their franchise with your mates, and they are without question to blame for the most rage quits in gaming history. Sadly, their behaviour has probably caused a whole generation of kids to gamble their life savings away on the non-stop loot boxes that are thrust down our throats Riley Reid style. It must also be noted the multiple franchises outside of sports too, such as The Sims, and how they invited a whole raft of new games to our beloved hobby. Currently it's rated as one of the most valuable companies in the industry with its own shitty launcher called Origin. Number 9, Mojang Studios. Now, Mojang Studios, it's Mojang people, not Mojang. Mojang Studios may have only effectively released one game, but people, it's arguably one of the most influential games in living memory, and to this day is still going as strong as ever. Make no mistake, people, even if you've not played this yourself, you cannot deny the cultural phenomenon that is Minecraft. You have Netflix series based on Minecraft, you've got kids shitting themselves in Minecraft underwear, and even educators are saying Minecraft can be a great game to help develop creativity. At its core, we have Lego in video game format, which explains its sheer reach for all ages, whether you're a toddler or you're an old geezer who's about to snuff it. So big is this one game that Minecraft is considered a franchise these days more than it is considered a game, and to perhaps sum its impact up, Minecraft is the single biggest selling video game of all bloody time, and amazingly, get this, it's sold 44% more than the game in second place, which is Grand Theft Auto 5. You can use that little fact down the pub to impress the ladies. Number 8, Epic is in here for a multitude of reasons rather than just one, but its Unreal Engine is arguably its most important contribution to gaming, as it really is the fabric of some of the best games in history. Now, Unreal Engine 5 in particular is going to be another evolutionary change, and I for one am wet at what we are going to see from it. But let's not forget, people, there is also that little game by the name of Fortnite that found itself into our little TikToks, our places of work and education, and it spawned a multitude of battle royale copycats. The free-to-play mechanic is very much a revolutionary step whereby other developers feel the need to offer some form of free-to-play royale game to keep revenues high. I personally hate the way the industry is going here, but Reggie cannot deny the sheer impact of what Epic has given us. Currently, Epic is rated as one of the most valuable companies in gaming with its own shitty launcher called Epic Game Store. Now, this one is arguably a little controversial, and many will say that Naughty Dog shouldn't even be in the top 10. However, for me, it's the way Naughty Dog raised gaming into something that was comparable to movies. I actually did a little video on this focusing on storytelling, and Naughty Dog is the master, the absolute master of character development and the way that it can present mature themes. The Last of Us is obviously the standout game here, but the Uncharted Series 2 was also our Indiana Jones moment. Now, I accept they haven't made a huge amount of games and their influence is relatively recent in the video games industry, but they have helped turn video games into something more than just what spotty teenage nerds played, with adults who are going through midlife crisis now crying at The Last of Us 2. Bravo, you naughty dogs, welcome to the top 10. Number 6, Microsoft. Microsoft may be down a bit low for some of you, and surprisingly it doesn't make it into the Cockney Gamers top 5, which is weird as it publishes one of my favourite games and indeed the longest franchise in gaming history in Microsoft Flight Simulator. On top of that, we all owe Microsoft a great service for releasing the Xbox when it did, even if you're a Sony fanboy. You see, Microsoft pushed Sony to their creative limits, and without them Sony would perhaps have gotten lazy, like sex in a marriage after 3 kids had been knocked out. And so for me, the footprint that Microsoft left on the industry continues to be felt, and I still say the Xbox 360 was better than its Sony counterpart at the time. Further to that, Microsoft has become a phenomenal publisher with, of course, the giant that is Halo as its key game. Microsoft's recent acquisitions of studios also means that their influence is going to be felt for generations to come. Ask me to create the same video in 10 years and you might just find that Microsoft has actually reached the top 3. Currently it's rated as one of the most valuable companies in the video games industry with its own shitty launcher simply called Xbox. Number 5, Rockstar. So here we are, people, top 5, and this is where the competition is tighter than a gnat's arsehole. Now, Rockstar creeps in above Microsoft for one franchise alone. Its impact is far greater than just video games, with Grand Theft Auto causing horror back in the day where they dared to challenge what was considered an adult-themed game. Who could forget the infamous Hot Coffee mod, or the licensed soundtracks, and indeed the fantastic social commentary on America? And let's not forget the outstanding Red Dead series and other gems such as Manhunt and Bully. Rockstar Games epitomises the video games industry in many ways, and even my old dear who doesn't know her Sega from her Nintendo could still give me a basic understanding of what Grand Theft Auto is. Currently, Rockstar is rated as one of the most valuable companies in the games industry with its own shitty launcher called Rockstar Games Launcher. Number 4, Sega. Sega, I don't give a shit what you call it, but Sega is an interesting one because I admit in the last 15 years it hasn't really given us anything to shout home about, and the upcoming Sonic Frontiers isn't exactly making any of us hard. Like Joe Biden on a bike, it's a company that has fallen from grace, but by God, boys and girls, what grace it was. I still believe the Dreamcast is the greatest console ever launched, but poor marketing, third-party support all but killed that off. The games were banger after banger, and even now they hold up pretty well. Sega also helped revolutionise the 8-bit and 16-bit era, and at the time even showed Nintendo how it needed to be done. Their little blue hedgehog gave Mario a hard time with its sheer speed. In fact, Sonic is an absolute icon, and you could argue is more striking and recognisable than even Mario. Hollywood, of course, has tried to capitalise and cash in on the franchise, but don't forget how Sega pushed the gaming world forward, in particular with its arcade technology, creating at the time unbelievable experiences. Games like Virtual Racing, all the way back in 1993, showcased us what the future had in store, and so they deserve their place in the Hall of Fame for what they've given our little hobby. Number 3, Sony. So from here on in, the next 3 companies all have their merits, and if Reggie is being honest, they could all be swapped and debated for all eternity. Sony at number 3 is perhaps the biggest surprise of all, as you probably had Sony in your top 2 and are now wondering what on earth makes up those remaining slots. Well, Sony is the home of console gaming. I think for all of us we can recognise that, with each generation promising more than what was before. The PlayStation is as much a cultural icon as it is a gaming icon, and will go down in history as the time of when gaming was truly brought to the masses. Don't forget, people, before Sony made gaming cool, it was deemed a place full of nerds who couldn't get laid. Sony were able to kill off Sega, a veteran of the games industry that left many in shock, and today they still dominate the home market. Likewise, some of the best games have been published by Sony, but for me they never really quite found a proper mascot like Nintendo, Sega or even Microsoft did with Master Chief, which is strange considering their breadth. Whether you own a PlayStation or not, we all owe it to Sony for bringing the industry as far as they have, and in turn have helped make it bigger than Hollywood. Sony, we bloody salute you. Number 2, Nintendo. Okay, hold up. How is Nintendo number 2 and what on earth then is number 1? Well, first let's give the credit to Nintendo straight off the bat here. When you think of video games, Nintendo is probably the first word you can think of. First you have its absolute revolutionary console design, from the handhelds, the controllers, the motion activated features. It was sheer brilliance. Each time Nintendo is pushing the boundaries of the hardware, trying and testing something new. And one thing I will say about Nintendo, which I feel no other company even matches here, is its true belief in fun. The Nintendo 64 was for me still its best and most groundbreaking console, and Mario 64 and Zelda Ocarina of Time were two of the most important game releases in video games history. Speaking of the plumber, Mario helped propel the industry into much wider spheres of conversation, with TV shows, movies, lunchboxes, and now even theme parks featuring the Italian stallion. Nintendo has been there since the beginning and still continues to wow us all with its first party games. If this was your number 1 choice, I totally get it, boys and girls, and as mentioned, I'm not going to argue against you either. Nintendo has done more for gaming than bats have done for global pandemics. Number 1, Valve. Okay, explain yourself, Reggie. For some of you, Valve would not have even been in your top 10, let alone bloody number 1. But before you click away and think this is all bullshit, remember people, we are not just talking about games here. This isn't a top 10 game list, but top 10 company list. And instead, you need to understand the impact that these companies have had on the gaming industry. Firstly, Valve as a developer has provided us limited releases, yes, but those releases changed gaming forever. First-person shooters are the most popular of genres, with Halo, Call of Duty, Battlefield, Far Cry, you bloody name it people. But none of this would have been possible without Half-Life. Valve's impact in this one game alone spawned generation after generation of first-person shooter games. Then you look at another game like Portal, which turned the genre on its head again, and even now it's not been topped. Valve was not just about pushing the boundaries of graphics, but also things behind the scenes like physics, with the gravity gun and portal gun giving us Nintendo wow factors of innovation. I haven't even mentioned the multiplayer heavy hitters of Counter-Strike, which is still the most played game on Steam. And they've since released another absolute incredible game in Half-Life Alyx. This one alone shot down the VR naysayers, the people who thought VR could not provide the experiences we've come to accept in home consoles. This pushed the boundaries of what was possible, and I have no doubt will be looked back upon in 15 years as the time VR really shot to fame. Speaking of VR, let's discuss hardware. Valve has had some average success in things like its controller, its Steam machines and Link, but it's also pushed boundaries in VR with its Valve Index and now the Steam Deck as a handheld that has given PC gaming a true hardware platform that until now was not possible. Here is a machine that thousands could utilise to play their games, which all sang from the same hymn sheet, so to speak. However, the biggest factor of all, and the number 1 reason Valve deserves its place in top spot, is down to Steam. The Steam platform is the Amazon of the video games industry. Before then, the PC gaming marketplace was a niche within a niche even, that even console gamers would laugh at you for. PC gaming is dead, you dear, and Steam comes along and provides a one-stop shop for all developers, all publishers, all gamers alike to connect, discuss and play together. It's since spurned a lot of shit copycats, but digital game delivery was very much pioneered by Steam. They continue to this day to set the standards of how digital gaming can work, and Sony, Microsoft, Rockstar, Nintendo, EA and Ubisoft all tried to match but haven't been able to reach the same levels. But Reggie, you say, I like Valve, but you haven't given any examples of its far-reaching cultural impact. Well, imagine the population of Australia all logging onto Steam at the same time. It happened, people, in the height of the pandemic. In fact, you can add a further 2 million people to that Australian population to make the figure a little bit more accurate. I get Steam isn't as sexy as Sony or Nintendo, but its impact on our hobby can be experienced every single day in all genres of gaming, in new upcoming hardware, and indeed the way that other companies look to replicate their own business. Valve, bravo, you deserve the number one. And with that, gamer gang, I'm going to speak to you all soon and cry at all the nasty comments.